Hello, my name is Brooke Parker, and I'm a member of the Assessment Services team at the Center on Education and Training for Employment at The Ohio State University. This training module is meant to prepare subject matter experts for attending a validation and standard setting workshop for one of Ohio's career technical education end-of-course exams. If you are watching this video, you have been identified either by the Ohio Department of Education or one of our recruiters as a subject matter expert for an end-of-course exam that is being developed or revised. During this session, we will consider 4 questions to prepare you for the workshop. First, what are validation and standard setting? Second, we will consider how content validity is established. Third, we will look at how performance standards are established. And fourth, we will look at what your role is as a subject matter expert. Let's first consider what validation is. When creating or revising a new exam, we want to be sure that the test we create is valid, or that it measures what it is intended to measure. Gathering evidence to support this claim is validation work. When you can demonstrate that a test measures what it is intended to, through validation evidence collecting, it provides support for test score interpretations. There are different ways to validate an exam. For end-of-course exams, the method used is content validation. This method focuses on the adequacy and appropriateness of the test content. We will come back to this type of validity and talk about how and when we collect evidence to establish content validity for end-of-course exams. Next, let's talk about performance standard setting. When we say performance standard, what we're talking about is a passing point, a cutoff score, or a benchmark. All of these have the same meaning. It is a score on the exam which reflects the minimum level of test performance required to be considered mastering the content. A test taker's score must be equal to or greater than the performance standard to be classified as passing the test. Performance standard setting is the process we use, which individual judgments are obtained and the passing point is determined. Now that we know what content validity is, how do we establish it for end-of-course exams? First, we use subject matter experts to write test items linked directly to competencies in a course outline. Then, in a large panel format, we use subject matter experts to conduct a technical accuracy review of every item in an end-of-course exam. Lastly, we collect individual subject matter expert ratings of essentiality and item quality. How do we establish performance standards for end-of-course exams? We start with defining what the minimally competent or proficient student looks like in a large panel format with a group of subject matter experts. We consider things like what the secondary high school learner looks like post-instruction. This could also be an entry-level worker or apprentice, or those entering college courses in post-secondary disciplines. These are borderline course completers that subject matter experts have worked with. They're the ones who have done enough to pass, but they're not the top students. And often they borderline between a C and a D grade. We will discuss this concept at the beginning of the face-to-face workshop that you are attending. Achievement in Ohio Career Technical Education is defined and reported in 3 ordered categories. Students who receive advanced have achieved the highest level of mastery. Students who receive proficient have passed the exam and are considered to have mastered the content. Students who receive non-proficient have not passed the exam and have not mastered the content at this time. As a subject matter expert, you will determine what mastery looks like at these 3 different levels. In order to determine what mastery of content or minimally proficient looks like, let's consider this visual representation. Consider the boxes as the 3 ordered performance standard categories we just discussed. To the right are descriptions of what the students you may have in your classroom look like. At the top are your advanced or clearly passing students. In the middle, where the bulk of your students are the proficient. These are your average students. At the bottom are those students achieving non-proficient. These are your clearly failing students. What we're interested in for the workshop are the minimally proficient students who have achieved just enough to pass the test. Now let's talk about what you will do as a subject matter expert. At the workshop, you will use an iPad, working at your own pace, to review all of the items in an end-of-course item bank. You will make 4 judgments about each individual item, and you will make judgments about the set of items as a whole. This is a screenshot of the 4 individual questions you will answer about each test item. You will first be asked whether or not you think a minimally proficient test taker would answer the item correctly. You will then be asked if a minimally advanced test taker would answer this item correctly. We will talk about these 2 concepts at the orientation on the day of the workshop. You will also be asked about item essentiality, which is a measure of how well the item gets at essential content in the competency in the course outline. A rating of 1 is low and a rating of 4 is high. You will also be asked whether or not you feel this is a quality item. A rating of 1 is low and a rating of 4 is high. We are often asked what happens to the data after the workshop. The judgments that you make on the iPad are averaged and linked to the test items in the end-of-course bank. Items then get reviewed by ODE staff and then field tested on the student population. Once we've received enough field test data, SEAT will create the final test forms of 40 items using the field test data, which serves as student input, your judgments from the workshop, which serves as instructor input, balanced with content coverage across the course outline. We hope that this module prepared you to attend the standard setting and validation workshop at SEAT. Please be sure that you are registered with Maria Moore before attending the workshop. We will have a brief orientation on the day of the workshop to answer any additional questions that you may have. We look forward to seeing you.